Hello and welcome to the next GM report video. In this video, I'm going to go over my notes as usual. There is a little bit of prep work to do, not that much, we'll see. So the first note I have is the thing about the Green Matriarch's caches was improvised. So in the moment I thought, oh yeah, I didn't actually plan for where these holy relics could be. Well, the Green Matriarch seems to be in control, so she probably has some. And with all of the treasure that she has, she wouldn't have been able to disappear off without anybody noticing if she'd taken all of that with her. Unless, of course, she's got dimensional spells, which she... Does she? I don't know. But yeah, she wouldn't have easily been able to take all that stuff with her, so it makes sense that she would have hidden away, buried, stocked away powerful items and wealth for later use. And so I need to come up with a little bit of details around that, like for example, how are these caches protected? Because apparently people know about them or suspect that they exist, so why are they still there? What's protecting them? Which, given how manipulative the Green Matriarch is, maybe some monsters that she can reason with and has convinced to protect that area. What the reason for that protection is, I don't know yet, but I like the thought of that, because that means the players might also be able to reason with whatever's there. That's something I will ponder a bit longer when it becomes more relevant. The next note is, I would really like to have... So, Skral Metan is of course really not a good guy, but I want him to act like very kind and gentle and inviting, because that I think is very interesting. And then if the players do figure it out, either the players immediately don't trust him, or if they do actually end up trusting Skral, then when they do figure out that he is actually entirely untrustworthy, it'll be much more rewarding to actually have a bad guy who is genuinely a bad guy. And I want Myrgrath Muckclaw to be the opposite, because she is actually quite kind and helpful and all that sort of stuff, but she doesn't appear that way. She appears aggressive and dangerous, and you shouldn't mess with her. But once you get to know her, and once you get past that, she's actually quite a kind individual. And I quite like that, the idea of that duality, and we'll see how that pans out, if the players even go up to her at all. I find that Mr. W being so on Thorum's side is creating some very interesting dynamics, because you've got some of the players wanting to trust more, some trust less, and then Mima seems to be caught in the middle, because on the one hand, she's the one who has had arguably the most detriment, because her brother, who is very real and very in danger, well, very in a not good place, his rescue has been delayed because of this phony story, and yet Mima is kind, and so with Arkan being kind of on Thorum's side, Mima is now also kind of, but I think that's a very interesting dynamic. And then we get to Willis sharing, not just to the NPC, but to the actual real-life players, about his backstory, and about how his parents were blessed by a god so that he could be born. And I just think that was really sweet and good roleplay. So yeah, well done. And then we get to... Oh right, yes. Another bit about the Green Matriarch's potential caches is that the stories that are circulating about them, which are very limited, but still, could just be to dissuade people from trying to fight her, because If it's like, okay, she has these magical items that give her power, and then if we could steal them or take them out of the fight somehow, then she'd be powerful. Well, no, she's got all those caches who nobody knows where they are, that sort of thing. Or maybe they're just embellishments. Who knows? It's a possibility. And then I looked up, and the witching hour, both me and Emichu were correct. So the witching hour can refer to midnight, so either directly after midnight or from 11 o'clock to midnight, I believe. But it can also be the time between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. So we were both right. I like to, when there's a lot of exposition, like for example about what's been going on in the town, I like to spread that out between NPCs. Because on the one hand, that is more immersive. On the other hand, it's also more fun and interesting, and it gives the players more names that they could later potentially refer back to if they, for example, run into something to do with dwarves and they have no dwarf in the party, and they say, oh, we met a dwarf once, and let's see if we can track him down, and that just makes the world feel more alive. And so I like spreading out that over multiple NPCs. Plus it's more fun for me to roleplay because I get to act more varied roles through that. So that's why I do that. The next bit is that last time Kango really was more active as a role player, and I really liked that. And I liked what Kango was doing with Maima, and that was good. I enjoyed that. Next bit is a quick thank you to Emichu for not splitting the party, so thank you. And then we have... Oh right, so as the dwarf was telling his stories, the spell cast by the gem driver to get rid of those apparitions was of course a light spell, because if you remember when I made the stat blocks for these monsters of uncertainty, if they are within bright light, they vanish, they disappear, they're gone. And so that's the spell that was cast, or something of that sort. Because light is, I believe, a cantrip, I think, so yeah. Oh right, yes, the thing about the midnight, the witching hour, that is false information, of course, because if you've been watching these videos, you know that the monsters of uncertainty are created when Zinthar, the Beholder, dreams, and he has no idea what happened to the Green Matriarch, and it's freaking him out, and it's been so long since she vanished, and still nobody knows what's been going on, and he doesn't want to send his own minions, whom he thinks he can mostly trust, because maybe he can't trust them, because none of them know what's going on, and if they tell him something's happening up there, he can't trust that information, so he needs to get people up there who he doesn't have any relationship with, who wouldn't backstab him because they won't know about him, but then how can he trust them? And all of that uncertainty is creating these monsters of uncertainty while he's sleeping, while he's dreaming, and that creates more uncertainty because he doesn't know that. He doesn't realize it. Because for as intelligent as he is, the things that are right in front of his nose, he misses. He doesn't know what these monsters are. He doesn't know how they're connected. He doesn't know where they're from. And they're around his lair, where he lives. Is that connected to the Green Matriarch? What's going on? And so they appear as soon as they can appear as soon as he falls asleep, which of course wouldn't happen at midnight, given that he lives underground, the day-night cycle probably wouldn't have that much impact anyway, but for the sake of this game, I'm going to have it be in sync with when it's day and night, because that might have to do with his minions as well, and so for convenience. So they can appear as soon as Zinthar would have fallen asleep, which obviously isn't just at midnight. So that's just information that people have embellished, and, well, whether it's deliberately or not, probably not, but modifications to real stories, like, oh yeah, and that happened late at night, oh, midnight, yes, my thing happened at midnight too, the witching hour, definitely. So, yeah. I mean, another thing is that the candle lighter guy who goes up to the lanterns and lights the candles, he doesn't do that at midnight, he does that at dusk. And so if the story is true that he got ambushed and teleported into the pantry of the Spectres Crossing Tavern, which it is, then that would have had to have been shortly after nightfall. And that brings me to another point. In those stories, I've been, of course, trying to hint at the special abilities that these monsters have. So, for example, they can teleport you, they can change their shape, they can do these different things. Also, the gem driver being up at Gemhaven and not down in the in Shard's Calling, I decided that because I didn't want him to be in the picture at the moment, but I decided that he's up at Gemhaven because that is where the players are more likely to go, and so they might encounter him on their journey, him coming back towards Shard's Calling. So maybe they meet a traveler and maybe they share some food around a campfire or something, and then they get talking and it's like, oh yeah, the dwarves, yeah, oh I know a dwarf, and then the name, oh hey, we've met that guy, and that's gonna make the world feel immersive and give connections if it happens. So this is like another open clue that I like to set up, where something might come of it, probably won't, but if it does, then that'll be fun. Right, and so that's pretty much everything. I'll be really interested to see where the players take this, and yeah, so see you then. Bye bye.